Right now, a man who was assaulted by a group on State Street hopes his case will move city leaders to act to improve safety in the area.
And we're asking local political science experts to weigh in on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's call for a formal impeachment inquiry into President Trump.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
Thanks for joining us. The problems on State Street continue. For weeks, we've reported on issues happening there, from violence to aggressive panhandling.
One man who was brutally assaulted hopes his experience will make more people care. Jamie Perez joins us now with his story.
Well, this assault actually happened a month ago, but the man that we spoke with says he doesn't feel like his assault is being acted on quickly enough, which is why he reached out to us just now. Now, this is what he looked like after his assault. He said he's hoping the pictures shown are a wake-up call for everyone who has concerns about the things going on State Street. It was about 11 o'clock on August 24th when Patrick Kempfer says he was brutally beaten at the corner of Lake and State Streets.
I saw a group of people walking by, said to the group of people was, "Hey, you having a good night?" And then he hit me. So we started to scuffle, and then his friend hit me too. And before I knew it, I was trying to fight two different people. And then by the time I ended up losing my footing and hit the ground, two of the girls came and joined in and started kicking at me. And then next thing I know, I'm waking up in an ambulance.
Kempfer took photos of what happened to him, documenting his healing process.
Nose was all the way over here. And my jaw was like kind of over this way because the two fractures right here. And now I have titanium plates right here, and my nose is about as straight as it's probably going to get.
Kempfer said he knows there have been ongoing issues on State Street. Being a victim to one of them wasn't in his plans, but he says he feels police didn't make it a part of theirs either. He says the detective working on his case didn't make contact with him until he reached out to her.
Response to me and why she hadn't contacted me was because she didn't have any valuable leads, and she didn't want to contact me and give me no information, which I thought was kind of interesting. Little unprofessional, actually. She claimed that, you know, that none of the city of Madison cameras got a good angle of the people that assaulted me. Neither did the UW cameras.
Madison Police spokesperson Joel Despain said in response, a Central District detective is working hard on this very active case. The detective has now secured good images of those thought to be responsible. These images have recently been distributed to all state law enforcement agencies. Kempfer said he hasn't received these most recent updates and believes his current life circumstances plays a part.
Seeing me as a degenerate homeless person on the street, rather than, you know, a UW student or somebody that resides down here, you know, made this less of a priority.
Kempfer knows his assault isn't the first and won't be the last. He says he hopes police are able to find who did this to him, but in the end, he wants this to be a part of a bigger lesson for the community.
If this can raise more awareness and more people can give a damn, including the police and including the mayor.
Now, because this is an active investigation, police could not comment further on this case, but they say if you have any information or saw the people that did this, you can call Madison Crime Stoppers.
Jamie, thank you. The Sauk County Sheriff's Department has released the name of a homicide victim. 37-year-old Christopher Lytle's body was found on a rural, heavily wooded road in the town of Fairfield on Sunday. He's from Westfield in Marquette County. An autopsy yesterday ruled the death a homicide, but Sheriff Chip Meister says it was too early in the investigation to tell how he was killed or how long the body had been there.
Madison fire officials estimate a popular restaurant and bar on the far west side suffered $2.8 million in damage. This was from a fire last Wednesday. Cowboy Jack's near Greenway Station caught fire about 3:30 in the morning. Firefighters say there were no sprinklers installed in that building. The cause of the fire remains under investigation.
To weather now, rain and cooler temperatures are headed our way. Let's check your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canaldi.
Well, hopefully, Charlotte, the rain will be of short duration. We won't have any severe weather. And then the cooler weather will actually be pretty welcome for tomorrow and Thursday. After a warm day today, thunderstorms have been developing very rapidly across parts of southern Minnesota into western Iowa. Storm Prediction Center does have a severe weather risk to our north and to our west, marginal risk north and west of Madison, and a slight risk over toward the Dells. Tornado watch is in effect until midnight for parts of west central Wisconsin through southern Minnesota and western Iowa. But those storms are still a ways off. Current temperatures are still still in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. We were in the lower 80s today, and dew point temperatures in the low 50s in Madison climbed to near 70 out toward La Crosse, so the air is much more humid out to the west. Hopefully those storms should weaken as they push into the drier air later on tonight, but the best chances of storms will be around midnight. Lows will be in the low to mid 60s. Highs tomorrow a little cooler at 72. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Governor Tony Evers isn't taking a position on whether President Trump should be impeached. About 2 hours ago, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment inquiry. We asked Charles Franklin, director of the Marquette Law School poll, why bother with impeachment if there's no chance the Republican-controlled Senate will vote to remove the president from office?
If we go all the way back to the founding, Alexander Hamilton wrote an article about how impeachment was such a political thing that it would hinge not on the evidence, but on the power of the parties and the interests, and in the end would be a very polarizing thing. And I think you hear a faint echo of that in Pelosi's concerns.
Dozens of House Democrats have announced their support for the inquiry over the past 48 hours. It comes after reports that the president pressured the president of Ukraine in an effort to target his political rival, former Vice President Joe Biden.
Communities in Wisconsin will have a chance to apply for federal grants to make election security upgrades like buying new computers and software. Wisconsin Elections Commission unanimously decided today to allow townships with the greatest need to apply for up to $1,200 apiece. Wisconsin was one of more than 20 states that federal authorities say Russian hackers tried to target during the 2016 election cycle, and the commission says it's trying to prevent that in the future.
It is possible that the overall election integrity mark could be seriously damaged by just a few municipalities having some kind of serious attack or problem in the week before the election.
The money will go first to clerks in the 7th Congressional District as a special election is scheduled for January to replace Congressman Sean Duffy of Wausau. Stephen Avery's attorney has published a handwritten confession from a Wisconsin inmate who says he killed Teresa Halbach in 2005.
She's calling it worthless unless corroborated. Our Amanda Quintana is here with those details.
Stephen Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey are behind bars for the 2005 murder of the 25-year-old photographer. The popular Netflix series Making a Murderer followed their appeals process, both of them claiming to be innocent. The director of Convicting a Murderer, the sequel, told Newsweek his film crew was given a confession by a, quote, notable convicted murderer from Wisconsin. But Avery's attorney doesn't think it's credible, posting the pages on Twitter. Joseph Evans of Boscobel claims he hit Halbach with his car. Then when he panicked, he took Avery's gun and shot her, then used an old Band-Aid of Avery's he found to put his blood on the car. He also wants $350,000 for his information, $200,000 more than the reward being offered. The Wisconsin Department of Justice tells us it takes all credible reports seriously, but this new information directly contradicts information previously provided by that same individual. Using laughing emojis on Twitter, it doesn't seem like Avery's attorney is too convinced that Joseph Evans is the killer.
More local news now. Staff and students in Sun Prairie are voting to narrow down the names for a planned second high school and reconfigured middle school. Voters approved a $164 million referendum to build a second high school in April. According to Madison.com, the two high schools will have East and West somewhere in their name. A Wolverine, wolf, or bulldog will be the mascot, and the existing high school will keep the Cardinal mascot. The survey closes on October 4th.
Today is National Voter Registration Day. Hundreds of volunteers have been running pop-up registration locations across Madison. You need to register to vote if your address has changed since the last time you voted. You'll need to bring a proof of residence like a utility bill from the last 90 days. A number of pop-up registration locations are still open tonight, and that includes a handful of libraries open until 7:30. The Ian's Pizza location at the Garver Feed Mill will be open until 7, and the Warner Park Community Recreation Center open until 8. You can find more information at cityofmadison.com/clerk, and you can register online at myvote.wi.gov.
Next at 6, after delays in the process to build a casino in Beloit, leaders of the Ho-Chunk Nation say the project is still going on, just slower than planned. Why they say the groundbreaking hasn't happened yet.
And more local news ahead. Tonight, Madison leaders will debate whether a nightclub some neighbors call problematic should have its liquor license revoked. We'll have an update on News 3 Now at 10.
Governor Evers says he will push the Republican-controlled legislature to pass gun control measures during the fall session. He spoke today at an event organized by WISCPolitics.com. The governor and other Democrats have introduced a bill requiring universal background checks for gun purchases and a red flag law to allow judges to take firearms away from people determined to be a risk. Republicans oppose both measures. Evers also said he'd push to legalize medical marijuana and that he's open to cutting taxes.
Happening tomorrow, Wisconsin lawmakers will announce recommendations from a bipartisan task force studying ways to prevent suicide. One of the proposals suggests creating a statewide suicide prevention program with a director who would oversee that effort. Republicans and Democrats have argued about how to handle that problem. The Republican-controlled Budget Committee has deferred spending money on suicide prevention programs as it waited for the task force to release these recommendations. A news conference is planned for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Capitol.
Leaders with the Ho-Chunk Nation are trying to dispel rumors surrounding a Rock County casino plan.
This comes after the plan had been delayed for months while a casino plan in Rockford continues to move on. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter spoke to a Ho-Chunk official and joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with the explanation. Adam?
Well, Eric and Charlotte, leaders with the Ho-Chunk Nation were at one point hopeful that by this time of year they could have already broken ground on their Beloit casino proposal. However, they say they're now learning sometimes the federal government can work slowly. Ho-Chunk leader Ryan Greendeer says excitement is still building in Beloit.
I'm down in Beloit pretty often, and every time that I'm in Beloit, I'm hearing a lot of support from the community members.
The building excitement and support for a proposed casino that'd sit right off the interstate and create 1,500 jobs. But as the excitement is building up, the casino itself isn't. Greendeer says it's about the federal government being thorough.
Our application is a very, very lengthy application. For every question that's ever been raised, not only in our application, but every other application. And we just want to make sure that all of those questions are answered.
He says the proposal is now awaiting approval from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, a process once hoped to be done by the end of the summer, now maybe by the end of the year.
Bureau of Indian Affairs sometimes gets sued over some of the most minutiae of details in the trust applications. So they're going to be looking long and hard at this application.
And as a new casino gets closer to reality just miles away in Rockford, Greendeer wants to stress that has nothing to do with these delays. Today, Governor Tony Evers weighing in.
We are kind of waiting for some final decisions from the federal government, but clearly competition makes a difference, but I'm not sure it does in this particular case.
And Greendeer says you can't compare the two projects.
And they're on a very quick timeline to build that. However, we're in a federal trust process, and the federal processes just take a little bit longer.
I also reached out to Beloit City Manager Lori Curtis Luther for comment, and she said she's hopeful that the Bureau of Indian Affairs will approve the proposal, and then it will be shortly later approved by Governor Tony Evers.
Adam Duxter in Rock County Night. Adam, thank you. Coming up in sports, the Brewers are on track for a playoff berth, but they have to duke it out with the Washington Nationals for the top wild card spot. Jay Wilson's analysis is just ahead.
And showers and thunderstorms develop tonight. Gary is keeping an eye on potential flooding issues that could come with continued rain over the weekend. His first alert forecast is next.
Oh, we want to thank everyone who has helped us collect 1,703 coats in our Coats for Kids drive. You still have time to dig out the winter gear that your kids have outgrown. Make a donation. You can do so at any Clinky Cleaners location for another week and change until Saturday, October 5th.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us now with a look at our forecast.
Well, it doesn't seem like you need winter coats or even a jacket, but down the road we probably will see a change, maybe toward the end of next week. In the meantime, we have to watch out for the potential for strong thunderstorms. Now, you can see how they've erupted very rapidly over parts of western Iowa, and now are starting to build into south central Minnesota. Eventually, that will move into western Wisconsin, but then those storms will start to head off toward the south and east. Things pretty quiet around here on Doppler track, but there is a tornado watch in effect until midnight for parts of west central Wisconsin, from about the Twin Cities southwestward toward Omaha, Nebraska. That's where the severe weather has been occurring, but notice those storms starting to develop farther north into Minnesota. The highest severe weather threat will stay to the west of us. Those storms will weaken as they move eastward because the air is a little bit drier. Plus, we'll be getting into the time of night where the temperatures are cooling off after sunset. Here in Madison, a marginal risk to the north and west, and a slight risk north and west of Wisconsin Dells. Rainfall amounts probably will be pretty minimal here, maybe a quarter to locally a half inch over much of southern Wisconsin. The heavier amounts of an inch or more will be where those storms first develop, and then once they start accelerating off toward the south and east, they'll move into that drier air. That should limit the rainfall potential. But next week could be a different story, especially from Saturday night into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Very latest computer model forecast from the GFS computer model. This is through next Thursday at 1:30 p.m. showing perhaps 2 to 5 or more inches of rain through southern Wisconsin. European computer model also showing some heavy amounts of rain, not nearly as excessive as the GFS, but still in the 1 to 3 or 4 inch range. They just have the heavier rain farther to the south and west. So the bottom line here is that we're probably looking at a pretty excessive rainfall event through some part of the Midwest. Exactly where that'll occur still remains to be seen, but at this point we're going to keep a very close eye on this and probably add alert days to the forecast because of the potential for flooding from those rains. Live here from the WISC Skycam, pretty quiet out there right now, starting to see some cirrus clouds overhead. Edgewater Skycam downtown Madison showing a little bit of a hazy sunshine, but we're getting close to sunset, not too far down the road. 81 the high for today, low 53, well above the averages of 68 and 47. It's more like a summer-like day. 78's the current temperature, winds are out of the south at 11, but our dew point's still at 52 degrees. And again, the air a little bit drier over southern Wisconsin. That's why the air is, why the skies have been mainly clear here. Those storms have been developing farther to the west where there's a little bit more humidity and a strong jet stream overhead, and a cold front is triggering those thunderstorms. Ahead of the front, temperatures are in the 80s. They drop off a few degrees to the north and west. That's where we'll be for tomorrow with low temperatures or high temperatures in the lower 70s. But look at the dew points, 50s here near 70 to the west. As those storms move into the dry air, hopefully that will weaken them a bit later on tonight. So our forecast calls for mostly cloudy skies. Skies become cloudy, breezy and milder. A shower or thunderstorm period right around midnight. Low temperature at 63. Then tomorrow will clear out and turn partly sunny. It'll be breezy and a little cooler with a high of 72. On future track, watch how quickly those storms move in later on tonight, and then they're gone by early tomorrow morning with low temperatures in the lower 60s. A nice day for tomorrow, a little breezy, high temperatures lower 70s. Mainly clear to partly cloudy for tomorrow night with lows around 50, and then mid to upper 60s for high temperatures on Thursday with partly sunny skies. Rainfall amounts maybe a quarter to a half inch or even less over much of southern Wisconsin, heavier amounts to the north and west. Again, the time period we have to watch is next week, but also some thunderstorm chances Thursday night into Friday, and then thunderstorms the first half of next week with mild weather, much cooler at the end of the week.
In sports, they say it's all about the ring, but are those things just getting too big? We'll discuss with national champion Mark Johnson in sports.
News
The Brewers are playing the Cincinnati Reds right now. In the third inning, it's the Reds 2, the Brewers 2. Ryan Braun has homered for Milwaukee. CBS Sportsline has the Brewers with a 99.8% chance of making the playoffs. They could get the first NL wild card, but the Washington Nationals don't look like they want to give that spot up. This afternoon, the Nats beat Philadelphia 4-1 in the first game of a doubleheader, so the Nationals are a game ahead of the Brewers right now. If Washington and Milwaukee tie, the Brewers would host the NL wild card game next Tuesday. Quick turnaround for the Packers this week. They have another game Thursday night when the Philadelphia Eagles come to Lambeau Field. Last night, the Chicago Bears beat the Washington Redskins 31-15 on Monday Night Football. Former Packer Clinton Dix had an interception return for a touchdown. Mitchell Trubisky threw 3 touchdown passes. In the NFC North right now, the Packers are 3-0. The Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions are all 2-1. The Badger football team, 24-point favorites over Northwestern at Camp Randall Saturday morning. But the last 18 times the Badgers and Wildcats have faced each other, it's 9 wins apiece. 2 Badger safeties won't play in the first half of the game for targeting penalties in the Michigan game last week. Eric Burrell and Reggie Pearson will serve those penalties this Saturday. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonard says they've dealt with this before when Scott Nelson missed half of the Michigan game last year.
You look last year and Scott went to that Michigan game, and it's a late game. So not only are you sitting the first half, you got all day to kind of build up all that emotion, and then you just got to sit on it and wait. So I think it being an earlier game can help those guys just a touch, but you know, maybe the fact that both of them are in the locker room, they can help each other out and talk through some stuff. But yeah, it's a unique challenge, but you know, the biggest thing is they have to just get ready and prepare, and they got to be ready to jump in, and we can't miss a beat.
It's a huge Prep Mania high school football game of the week. Verona at Madison Memorial. They'll play for first place in the Big 8. We're live with the game on channel3000.com Friday night at 7. Believe it or not, the Badger women's hockey season begins this weekend when Wisconsin travels to Lindenwood. Last time they went to Lindenwood, there was a carbon monoxide issue in the arena, but the good news is there's a brand new arena for them this time. Wisconsin, of course, the defending national champion after beating Minnesota in the final in Hamden, Connecticut last spring. And when you win the title, you get these really big championship rings. The team got those rings at a get-together at Mark Johnson's house over the weekend. But those rings are about the size of a Buick. A, how did they get so big? And B, does anyone ever wear those big rings?
I remember the first year we won it in 06, and, you know, seniors got together, they put together a beautiful ring, but, you know, I think when we won it again in 07, we need a bigger one. And then it was a bigger one, and so it's fun to watch them put it together, and each ring tell their own story. And again, you probably don't wear it too often, just because you probably need a wrist brace to put on your hand because it's so heavy.
So they actually size your finger for the ring, but that's just so darn big. You should probably make a necklace out of it.
Cool that the girls get to design it, right?
Well, you can always throw it at someone, too, if you get mad.
That's true. Safety measures, right?
Well, that'd be targeting, wouldn't it?
It would be.
That's no good.
Final chat, Gary?
Watching storms out to the west of us, tornado watch in effect for parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and western Wisconsin. But around here, things pretty quiet. The temperatures in the upper 70s, but the dew points are in the lower 50s, so that should weaken the storms as they move in.
All right, thanks for joining us for News 3 now at 6.
Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you back here at 10.